Revisiting No. 12 by Judy Turner of South Durras 2536. Narrated by Janine Penfold. No. 12. First house in a row of 5 narrow, 2-storey brick terraces with cast iron balconies. I stand at the wire mesh gate, the same one I closed when I left at 18, over 40 years ago. We've travelled from Canberra to Sydney today for my husband's specialist medical appointment. We're both anxious about this visit, but, stoic and stubborn, he insists on going alone. So I drop him off and drive to a neighbouring suburb to visit my old childhood home. The gate sign declares it now a drop-in centre for the unemployed. I walk the short path to the tiny porch. Grandma's chair always sat at the end, her throne for intercepting passers-by for a chat. Later, she would hobble into the house and distribute the crumbs of gossip, sometimes sprinkled with some added spice of her own. On warm evenings, I'd sit on the cool tiles beside her. Heavy bodies languid with heat, senses saturated with sweet summer smells, listening to the hum of crickets, watching for shooting stars. I push open the front door and pass down the narrow hall. A counter blocks the entrance to what was once the front parlour. Later it became Grandma's bedroom when she could no longer manage the stairs. A young woman with bright red spiky hair and countless metal studs both adorning and piercing her body looks up from her desk. "Can I help you?" "Yes, I lived here as a child. Would you mind if I look through?" She chews her bottom lip. Her hand moves towards her face, and for several horrifying seconds, I think she's going to pick her nose. Instead, she adjusts the stud in her nostril. "Well, yeah, sure, but not upstairs. There's a meeting." She waves her leather and metal-studded wrist at me. "Help yourself." "This was my grandmother's bedroom," I say tentatively. She gives me a whatever look and returns to her screen. Grandma's room. Once filled with comfy bed, handmade quilts, treasured possessions, and the smell of Grandma's rose-scented talc. Now replaced by filing cabinets, desks, computers, printers, and a photocopier. Grandma was very liberal with the rose-scented talc. "Can't stand the smell of old people," she'd mutter. She was also vigilant with the tweezers. "When you get old," she advised, "make sure you don't let any hair grow on your chin. I hate old ladies with whiskers." Moving on to the living room, I encounter a swirling fog of memories. My hand grasps the stair banister for support. Oh, the familiarity of that curved wooden banister in my hand. Crouched in the shadows at the top of the stairs, I'd clench those banisters with both fists, straining forward to eavesdrop on the antics of the adults below. I remember my father and our Irish neighbour, beers in hand, singing and swaying together. Our living room was always full of people, aunts, uncles and cousins, neighbours dropping in for a cup of tea or a few beers and a sing-song on Friday or Saturday nights. Dad's mates or family gathered around our big dining table, playing cards. A boy with dreadlocks stares at a computer in the corner where our big console wireless once had pride of place. I'd sit on the brown linoleum floor and listen with Grandma to the daytime radio serials. Blue Hills, Ada and Elsie, or When a Girl Marries. Late afternoon, I'd tune into the Argonauts Club. On Sunday night, we'd cluster round for the Lux Radio Theatre. Mum's hands were always busy, darning, mending or knitting, but the rest of us leaned in, silent, imaginations transported to a world away. A coal fire warmed us in the winter months. Occasionally, when coal was low, we'd pinch some from behind the police station up the street. One day, as my young brother Jack loaded some coal into a Hessian bag, a burly policeman strode up behind him. "Where do you think you are going with that?" "My grandma's cold," answered Jack. "Go on then, but only this time." Today, the trappings of bureaucracy fill the room where once so much happened, and one dreadlocked boy replaces all the ghosts of my past. My foot touches the familiar worn patch on the stone step between the living room and kitchen. Two girls wash coffee cups at the sink. But I see my mother standing at the kitchen table, beating butter and sugar with a wooden spoon in the big cream porcelain bowl. I head out the back door and down the narrow path. The dilapidated, open, outside laundry, where Mum stoked the fire under the copper every Monday, is now a toilet block. The original bare dirt yard replaced by neat paving. I remember the arms of two drunken posts juggling lines of flapping washing. Mum steadying the whole flying circus with wooden clothes props. My hand reaches out to touch the side wall as I head towards the back door. The warm, rough, red bricks crackle with memories. Images pulse through my veins and send my head whirling, causing me to trip on the living room step. I am relieved I cannot go upstairs to revisit the 3 bedrooms and bathroom. I've had enough. "Thanks," I called to Spiky in the front room. She waves a studded wrist at me. I recall Grandma's shaking wrist as she poured a tot of rum. Etched in my mind forever are the acrid smell, the glass, the rum, and Grandma falling to the ground. I remember my 16-year-old legs sprinting the block to the public phone box. Fingers fumbling through the phone book for the number of the Catholic presbytery to call the priest. My whole body racked with grief, knowing I was too late. When I collect my husband, he opens the car door and studies my face. "Are you okay?" "I feel a bit spun out after visiting the old house," I answer. "But hey, I'm supposed to be asking you that question. What did the specialist say?" The end.